I guess I'm out. Let's get saucing, shall we?
What just happened? Oh, right. Well, down to the final two. Let's get saucing, shall we? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, to this episode of The Sauce. We're down to the final two, and as I'm sure you've just seen, one of the two of my household is not exactly happy. Sorry, babe. So, let's get saucing again. I said that already. Let's do it. As you can see, it's down to Tampa Bay and Montreal. It's a true David and Goliath story. The reigning Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning versus the underdog, the Kings of the North, who defeated one of the top two teams in the league in the Vegas Golden Knights. It's an amazing story. This is the first time the Canadiens have been in the Cup final since 1993. This is the first time that a Canadian team is in the Cup final since 2011. And it has been a long time coming for any Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup, which is something I'm going to talk about in just a little bit, but I want to focus on the bracket just a little bit more. How did we get here? So with Tampa Bay, they faced off against the New York Islanders. It went the full distance. We got a Game 7 in the, not conference final, the semifinal they're calling it. Game 7 was a hell of a game. 1-0 win by the Tampa Bay Lightning, shorthanded goal by Yanni Gourde. The place was rocking. I will say this for Islanders fans. Nassau Coliseum is now going away, but at least you got the Game 6 win to force Game 7 back in Tampa Bay. So that's a huge send-off at the Nassau Coliseum. Now the New York Islanders get a brand new shiny stadium to play in. So, hey, it was a really tough contest. Now Tampa advances to their second consecutive Stanley Cup final. Can they defend the cup? We'll find out. Now talking about the underdogs of this entire bracket, the Montreal Canadiens. Didn't quite go the distance against the Vegas Golden Knights, but 6 games is still an insane series win for the Montreal Canadiens, and multiple games went to overtime. This was a toughly contested series. Both Vegas goalies had a tough time against this Montreal team. The Montreal Canadiens show that this is no fluke, and now they have a chance to be the first Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup in, we'll get into how long it's been in just a little bit. But I'm telling you, this is going to be an exciting series. As I'm currently recording this, Game 2 is tonight. Game 1, yes, has already taken place. Tampa won Game 1 5-1. Highly contested game. Multiple scrums. A bloody face of Brendan Gallagher that's all over the hockey media, and it was an exciting Game 1, obviously for me as a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, but overall the intensity was high, the atmosphere was great. Fans have not been in the stands for quite some time, and to have fans in the stands after everything that happened with COVID, as quiet as it was, the fake crowd noise pumping in the bubbles, it's just great to have fans and just packing the arena, and it's loud as it can be. I really hope that Montreal's able to pack that house because the Bell Center will be rocking. So Game 2 tonight, Game 1, 5-1 Tampa. Tampa has a 1-0 series lead. Now, we got a lot of cool stats to talk about. Let's go. Ta-da! All right, so this is what I wanted to talk about earlier. So you have the Stanley Cup final breakdown. So what I'm about to show you here is just a little bit more of the playoff history of these teams. So let's start over here with Tampa Bay Lightning. So like I said, currently they lead the series 1-0. Game 2 is tonight, so we'll see how that turns out. Tampa Bay Lightning, they entered the league in 1992. So their first ever playoff appearance. You know what? Let me go to the other side. Playoff history for the Tampa Bay Lightning. 1995-1996 season was the first year they made the playoffs. They lose in the conference quarterfinal. 2003-2004, they make it all the way to the Stanley Cup final and win. They actually beat Montreal, which we'll talk about later, to get to that point. So that's the first meeting for these two teams. 2013-2014, the Tampa Bay Lightning lose in round 1. They actually get swept by the Montreal Canadiens. Second meeting for these two clubs in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 2014-2015 season, the Lightning make it back to to the Stanley Cup final, this time losing to the Chicago Blackhawks in 6 games. 2018-2019 season, they were the President's Trophy winning team. They were the best team in the NHL for the regular season record, and they get swept in round 1 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. If memory serves me correct, that was the first time in NHL history the President's Trophy winners got swept in the playoffs. Heartbreaking playoffs. I was very upset about that. But the very next season, they get redemption. They beat the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round. They make it all the way to the Stanley Cup final, and as you can see here, they win their second Stanley Cup in franchise history. And now they play the Montreal Canadiens for a chance to win their third Stanley Cup in franchise history. So let's get into some today's stats for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Nikita Kucherov currently leads the Tampa Bay Lightning with 30 points. Vasilevsky has a 1.94 goals against average, phenomenal, and a .936 save percentage. Both of these goalies are elite level goaltenders, Vezina winning goaltenders, just outstanding. Some team stats. Tampa Bay Lightning has a 37.5 power play and an 83.6 penalty kill. They have the best power play in this year's playoffs, and they have a pretty decent penalty kill. Not like the Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens have a much better penalty kill this year. We'll get into that in just a little bit. So I wanted to just, again, break down some of the more monumental playoff series since the Lightning joined the league. So you have their top 6, and this was going to be the 7th, so 7 games. It's kind of how I played on it, so yeah. Montreal's turn. Okay, so now moving on to the Montreal Canadiens. So, a couple things here. They joined the league in 1917. Yes, I only have five different playoffs here, but I have 6 here. It's not because Tampa is my favorite team. The big call out for Montreal, actually 2 call outs. So they have the most Stanley Cup championships in the NHL, number 1 thing. Number 2, I only put 5 because I wanted to pinpoint seasons that they played against each other in the playoffs, and because I limited it so much to when Tampa joined the league so I can have more of an even comparison. So for those reasons, I limited it to Montreal's top 5 Stanley Cup playoff appearances since 92-93. So, in 92-93, when Tampa joins the league, Montreal is the Stanley Cup champions. They defeat the LA Kings, and that was the last time a Canadian team has won the Cup. The time before that was in 1990 with the Edmonton Oilers when they had that back-to-back Stanley Cup run with Wayne Gretzky. 03-04, as I just mentioned, was the year the Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup. Montreal Canadiens meet the Tampa Bay Lightning in the conference semifinal and lose to the eventual Stanley Cup champs. 2009-2010 season, the Montreal Canadiens make it all the way to the conference finals to play the Philadelphia Flyers. They lose in the conference final. However, why this is significant is because from YouTube videos that I watch, some of the Canadian YouTubers that I watch, this current Montreal Canadiens team is very reminiscent of that 2009-2010 underdog team. So that's a big reason why I put that there. 2013-2014, as I mentioned earlier, the year that they swept Tampa Bay, Montreal would advance all the way to the conference final again, but they would lose to the New York Rangers, who the New York Rangers eventually lost that Stanley Cup to the LA Kings. Those were the years that LA and Chicago went back and forth. 2014-2015, they faced Tampa Bay again. As I mentioned, Tampa Bay gets their redemption in round 2. Tampa Bay defeats Montreal. So, that all being said, some stats for this year's playoffs. Tyler Toffoli currently leads the Montreal Canadiens with 14 points in these year's playoffs. Carey Price has a 2.18 goals against average and a .928 save percentage, and that's after game 1. So the stats for Vasilevsky and Carey Price were much closer prior to game 1, so that's my fault for not getting this video out sooner. These were very close goaltending stats. They still are, and they're still both Vezina winning goaltenders. So Sorry I didn't get this out sooner, but just wanted to bring that up. Power play percentage for the Montreal Canadiens, 20%, not bad. But again, Tampa Bay has the best power play in these playoffs. The best penalty kill, 91.8%. After game 1, they have allowed only 1 goal in the last 14 playoff games. That's unheard of. To think about that, they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, who had the best record in the North, the highest scoring offense in the North, the Maurice Rocket Richard winning Austin Matthews. I'm sorry if I'm digging into the Toronto Maple Leafs fans out there, but just to show you how strong and deserving this Montreal Canadiens team is of being in the Stanley Cup final right now. This is why I'm mentioning this. So anyway, they beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in round 1. That was the last time they let in a power play goal. After that, they sweep the Winnipeg Jets. They defeat the Vegas Golden Knights. Golden Knights power play does nothing, and Tampa finally cracks that stout, rock-solid penalty kill for the Montreal Canadiens in Game 1, getting a power play goal. Only 1 power play goal. So special teams are going to play a huge part in the Stanley Cup final, but that's my little information there on Montreal. And last but not least, the all-time versus each other stat for these two clubs in the regular season. So they played 105 games against each other. Montreal leads the win column with 48 wins to Tampa Bay's 43. There have been 6 ties, back when ties were a thing in the 80s, 90s. And there have been 8 overtime/shootout games played. So a total of 105 games played between these two clubs. 4th time that these two clubs are meeting in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Currently, Tampa Bay has the series lead, I guess, if you want to call it that, 2-1 for Montreal. So this will be the 4th time, as I've said before. Currently, Tampa Bay leads this Stanley Cup final 1-0. Game 1 was electric. I doubt Game 2 is going to be as open. I think it's going to be a lot closer. So, yeah. A lot to talk about here. I really wanted to get into some hardcore stats for this Stanley Cup final breakdown. Very excited to see the Tampa Bay Lightning back in the Stanley Cup final. As I mentioned in my preview and my bracket breakdown, I didn't think they would make it this far, but man, these two teams are just phenomenal to watch. And the best power play against the best penalty kill, who wins? So to wrap this one up with a pretty bow, I'm super excited to have fans back in the stands. It really brings the atmosphere. You know, the Lightning didn't get that chance to celebrate, and that goes for any team. I don't want everybody to think, oh, just because it's Tampa. If it was Dallas that won last year, or any other team were to beat out Tampa or Dallas, they wouldn't have gotten to celebrate with the fans in the arena. So it's really unfortunate that that happened last year to all NHL teams. And this year to have fans in the stands, it's just phenomenal. The atmosphere is already great. So I'm super excited to see as this series plays out what happens and how crazy these fans are going to get. So I just hope for a really good series. Of course, I hope Tampa to win, but this proves that the East was the more dominant conference. The Eastern Conference, or normal Eastern Conference, was more dominant in this year's playoffs than the normal Western Conference was. So you have 2 normally Eastern Conference teams that would never advance to the Stanley Cup final together, but they're just showing that the East was the beast this year. And one last little fun fact, Montreal won the Clarence Campbell Bowl this year, which is normally awarded to the Western Conference team. So that's historic for them as well. So an already historic franchise gets another historic trophy. So that's pretty cool. Okay, I said I was going to wrap this one up, so here we go. Thank you very much for watching this episode of The Sauce. Make sure you click like if you liked the video, click subscribe if you really liked it. It helps grow the channel. Make sure you watch our other videos on the Slice of Life. Thank you all again so much for watching. Stay saucy. Go Bolts.